David Arquette teases possible Dewey Riley return in Scream 7. Let's get into it.
Certain rules. Push the laws and you end up dead.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life.
Not in my movie.
Surprise, Sydney.
He's gone mad.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
A very simple formula.
You want to play psycho killer?
Everybody's a suspect.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
I'll be right back.
Okay, I think it's gonna go something like this.
I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel. As we know, our beloved Dewey Riley unfortunately died in Scream 5. We have missed him ever since, but could he possibly return to the Scream franchise? Let's talk about what David Arquette had to say on the topic. When asked about it in a recent interview, he said, "It's a horror movie, so anything's possible."
And what about a return in Scream 7?
It's a horror movie, so anything's possible.
This is not the only time that he was asked about it. He was asked about it back in October as well. The interviewer said he could always be resurrected somehow. And David Arquette said, "We'll see, anything is possible." He said, how many movies has Jason or Michael Myers done? Not to say that Dewey is a killer.
How many movies has Jason or Mike Myers been in? Not that Dewey's a killer,
but that there is a coming back to life element in these horror films.
There is a coming back to life element within these horror films.
And he is not the only cast member who had something to say about the resurrection of Dewey. Courtney Cox, who of course plays GALE Weathers, did an interview back in September where she talked about the character Dewey Riley. And she said, "I understand the reasons why they did it, but whoa, talk about a missed character. Dewey is so loved by Scream fans, they have to figure it out." So for a while now, ever since these interviews broke, fans have been saying, are we going to see the return of Dewey Riley? There are some fan theories out there that Dewey possibly faked his death, or just that he survived and we didn't learn about it in Scream 6. As much as I love Dewey, I am personally not a huge fan of this theory. I think that revealing that Dewey is actually alive would take away from his death scene. Obviously, Dewey's death is the biggest death that we've had in these newer Scream movies. Between Scream 5 and 6, Dewey's death is the biggest, most emotional death that we've had, and I think that these movies need that. Especially with these newer characters constantly surviving these crazy attacks. Like Chad, for example, he's survived about 30 stabs between Scream 5 and Scream 6, which I do think is a little ridiculous. And Mindy should have died on that subway scene in Scream 6. GALE probably should have died in her scene in Scream 6. So I do think it's a little ridiculous that all of these characters are surviving these crazy attacks in these newer movies. So I think to bring Dewey back and reveal that he's alive would just be too far-fetched in my opinion. With that being said, I do love Dewey and I would absolutely love to see him again. But I think it should happen in the form of a flashback. This is something that I've been saying since Scream 5's release. Let's get a flashback of Dewey. Not only has a flashback never been done in the franchise, so it would be something new for the franchise, but it would just be a fun way for fans to see this character again. I honestly thought we were going to get a Dewey flashback in Scream 6, just because it was the first movie that we got without Dewey. And the fact that Scream 6 took place in New York City. We know from Scream 5 that Dewey and GALE were previously living together in New York City, and something happened where Dewey just left her in the middle of the night and went back to Woodsboro, which I always thought was really weird. I feel like there was something more to that story. Why did he just up and leave in the middle of the night? Why couldn't he face her and just say, "Listen, this isn't working. I'm going back home to Woodsboro"? So the fact that we knew that he left her in New York, and then the following movie, Scream 6, took place in New York, and it was the first movie without Dewey, I was so sure that we were going to get a flashback in New York City and find out a little bit more of what happened between Dewey and GALE. It's unfortunate that we didn't get this flashback in Scream 6, but I think there's a good chance that we could possibly get a flashback in Scream 7. You know, David Arquette still wants to be a part of the franchise. He even says in one of these interviews that he loved being a part of this franchise, and when it came time for them to make Scream 6, he was like super bummed that he wasn't going to be in it. And then the fact that in this interview with Courtney Cox, she says, talk about a missed character, like they got to figure it out, have some way to bring him back. And like I said, him being alive is a little far-fetched for me, and I feel like it's a little far-fetched for a lot of fans. So I just think a flashback would be the perfect way for us to see him again. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that they should kind of resurrect Dewey from the dead? Should he still be alive? Like, he survived his injuries in Scream 5, and for whatever reason we just didn't learn about it in Scream 6, and they're saving the reveal for Scream 7? Or do you agree with me where it should just be a flashback? Now, I also just want to throw this in this video, something that Dermot Mulroney, who plays Detective Bailey in Scream 6, he had something to say about Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega's exit from the Scream franchise. I saw this article from the New York Post. The headline reads, "He's not surprised that they exited the Scream franchise." And the article reads, Dermot Mulroney is breaking his silence on his Scream co-stars Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega exiting the franchise. He says, "I'm not surprised they didn't come back." The article just kind of goes into everything that went down with their exit, as well as Christopher Landon's. And Dermot Mulroney also went on to say, Scream has had a lot of ups and downs since Scream 7 and how the company treated Melissa Barrera, and then flip side, Nev's back in her character Sidney Prescott. So those Scream people who have wrote out all that's gone on, not just in the last couple of years, but for the last 25 years with the storyline, I'm so grateful to be a part of it. It's way more powerful than I ever thought. It binds families together. The horror viewer followership fanscape is so powerful that I know more and more from being part of Scream. He kind of talks about his role in his new movie, and then he says, I guess until recently these roles would have been less likely to come my way. So whatever is ticked on the graph, I'm sure my age had to do it. Scream 6, of course, playing Detective Bailey has become rather iconic. So that's pretty much all that he had to say about it. He really didn't go into great detail about Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, but I just wanted to throw that in there because he did kind of talk about it, you know, Melissa and Jenna's exit from the franchise. It wasn't really enough for me to make like its own video on the topic, but just wanted to inform you guys, you know, any little update that we get with the franchise, I like to do something on the channel just so you guys can stay informed. But that is it for today. This is what David Arquette had to say about a potential Dewey Riley return to the franchise, and Dermot Mulroney also had a little something to say about Melissa and Jenna's exit from the franchise. Let me know your thoughts, leave a comment down below. But thank you so much for tuning into another video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I am trying to get to 10K by the end of the year, and I think we can do it. I'm less than 200 away from 10K. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Turn on all notifications so that you don't miss out on future posts, because as we start to get some more news about Scream 7, you can expect for it to be posted here to the channel. And I will see you guys next time.